They sent 5 assassins. The human thought it was a mugging. 3 of them switched sides. Dave Matthews was the kind of guy who blended into the background of any room he entered. Average height, average build, average everything. The only thing that made him remotely interesting was the fact that he lived on Nexus 9, the first successful human settlement outside the Sol system. And even there, he managed to be utterly unremarkable. And if you look to your left, Dave gestured with the practiced wave of a man who had given this tour 1,000 times, you'll see our atmospheric processing plant, which converts the native methane-heavy atmosphere into something humans can breathe without, dying horribly. The group of Zenturian tourists blinked their 17 collective eyes in what might have been interest. It was hard to tell with Zenturians, and their facial expressions ranged from mildly constipated to severely constipated. "Any questions?" Dave asked, knowing full well there wouldn't be any. There never were. Being a cultural liaison for New Portlandia was just a fancy way of saying underpaid tour guide for aliens who think watching humans eat sandwiches is fascinating. One of the Zenturians raised a tentacle. Why do humans insist on living where they can't naturally breathe? Dave sighed. Because we're stubborn and real estate on Earth costs more than my left kidney. Now, who wants to see our artisanal coffee shop? The barista can make foam art that looks like your species' religious figures. As Dave herded his tour group toward the next stop, he remained blissfully unaware of 2 critical facts. First, that the Galactic Council had been in crisis talks for weeks over the discovery of an ancient precursor weapon on Nexus 9. And second, that 5 of the most elite assassins in the galaxy had just landed with one mission: eliminate Dave Matthews. Across town, in a nondescript shuttle, Commander Core adjusted his phase disruptor with the meticulous care of someone who had killed beings across 17 star systems. "Run the briefing again," he ordered, his violet skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that indicated deadly focus. His second-in-command, Drex, brought up the holographic display. Target is David Matthews. Human. Male, age 32 Earth cycles. Occupation, cultural liaison. "That's a cover," sneered Zila, the team's infiltration specialist. Her shape-shifting abilities made her perfect for close-range assassinations. "No one is just a tour guide." "Intelligence suggests he is exactly what he appears to be," countered Krell, the team's analyst. "His species evolved from predatory tree-dwelling creatures, giving him 8 limbs and exceptional spatial awareness. An unremarkable human with unremarkable habits." "Then why," asked Vex, their weapons expert, "has the Council ordered a 5-assassin strike team to eliminate a tour guide? That's overkill even by our standards." The Commander Core silenced them with a gesture. "Our orders are clear. The human possesses specific genetic markers that make him dangerous. He is the only being in the known universe capable of activating the Precursor artifact recently discovered beneath the southern continent. The Council cannot allow that power to remain in the hands of a human." He said human the way most beings would say sentient fungal infection. "We strike tonight," Core decided, "when he's alone." Meanwhile, Dave was finishing his tour, and completely oblivious that several of the galaxy's deadliest killers were discussing the most efficient way to end his thoroughly ordinary existence. Dave took his usual shortcut home through the Zena district, a neighborhood where various alien species had set up shops, restaurants, and other businesses catering to the diverse population of New Portlandia. The neon signs in 17 different languages cast multicolored shadows across his path as he munched on what the Graxian food vendor had assured him was almost exactly like a soft chicken burrito. It tasted more like spicy rubber bands wrapped in paper, but it was cheaper than anything in the human sector. He was halfway through the questionable meal when he noticed the alley ahead seemed darker than usual. The bioluminescent street lamps that normally lit this section were mysteriously offline. "Great," Dave muttered. "Maintenance budget cuts strike again." He considered taking the long way around but dismissed the idea. His apartment was just 3 blocks past the alley, and he had a date with his couch and some classic Earth sitcoms. Dave squared his shoulders and stepped into the darkness. 5 pairs of eyes watched from strategic positions as their target approached. "Switching to infrared," whispered Drex. adjusting his ocular implants. "Remember," Commander Kor's voice crackled through their secure comms, quick and clean, no witnesses. What happened next would later be described in the official mission report as a catastrophic cascade of tactical failures. The reality was somewhat less dignified. As Dave reached the middle of the alley, Vex activated her gravity manipulator to drop silently behind the human. Unfortunately, she had failed to account for the unique mineral composition of New Portlandia's pavement, which amplified the device's field and sent her crashing down with the force of 3 times normal gravity. The loud thud made Dave whirl around. "Hello?" he called out, squinting into the darkness. Zila, seeing the plan already going sideways, shape-shifted into what she thought was a convincing human mugger form and stepped out of the shadows. "Give me your credits and nobody gets hurt," she demanded, having practiced this line from studying human crime dramas. Dave blinked at the human before him, whose proportions were just slightly wrong: arms too long, eyes too wide-set, and what appeared to be an attempt at a threatening expression that looked more like severe indigestion. "Oh man, is this a mugging?" Dave asked, surprisingly calm. "Look, I'm just a tour guide. I have like 20 credits to my name." Krell, seeing the operation deteriorating, leaped from his hiding spot with 8 limbs extended, ready to subdue the target. But he misjudged his trajectory in the unfamiliar gravity and slammed into a garbage disposal unit. Dave jumped at the crash and instinctively threw his almost chicken burrito in the direction of the noise. The spicy sauce splattered directly into Krell's 4 main eyes and my ocular membranes. Krell screeched, frantically wiping at his face. "It burns." Commander Kor, watching this disaster unfold from his position on the rooftop, signaled to Drex, "Take the shot. Now." Drex lined up his phase disruptor, but at that exact moment, Dave bent down to pick up his bag that had fallen in the commotion. The deadly beam missed him by centimeters and instead hit a water pipe, which exploded in a pressurized spray that knocked Vex off her feet just as she was recovering from her gravity mishap. Dave, believing he was dealing with the most incompetent muggers in the history of New Portlandia, decided to take a stand. He grabbed a metal rod from a nearby construction pile and waved it threateningly. "Listen, I don't want trouble," he announced with far more courage than he actually felt. "But I've had a long day showing bored aliens our atmospheric converters, and I really just want to go home and watch reruns of Friends." Commander Kor, watching his elite team being thwarted by pure chance and a metal rod, finally descended to take matters into his own hands. But as he landed silently behind Dave, he stepped on Vex's discarded gravity manipulator. The device activated, sending him floating upward with an undignified yelp. Dave turned at the sound and stared in bewilderment at the violet alien rising toward the alley ceiling. "Okay," he said slowly, lowering his makeshift weapon. "This is the weirdest mugging I've ever experienced, and that includes the time in college when someone tried to steal my shoes while I was still wearing them." He looked around at the chaos: one alien writhing on the ground with sauce in its eyes, another trying to stand in a puddle of water, and a third floating near the ceiling. "Are you guys okay?" Dave asked, his concern genuine. "Do you need medical attention?" Krell, still wiping sauce from his eyes, stared at the human in disbelief. Their target was offering help to the people who had just tried to kill him. Something very strange began to happen in Krell's 8-chambered heart. "I'm really not sure this is necessary," Krell said for the 3rd time as Dave applied a homemade remedy to his inflamed eyes. "Nonsense," Dave replied, dabbing the solution carefully around Krell's 4 main optical organs. "My grandma's cucumber and aloe recipe works on any kind of eye irritation. Though I'll admit, I've never tested it on whatever species you are." Octavision, Krell supplied automatically, then mentally kicked himself for revealing personal information to a target. Dave's apartment was exactly what one would expect from a bachelor tour guide living on a frontier colony world: small, utilitarian, with the odd touch of personality. A small potted plant struggled for life on the windowsill. Posters of Earth landmarks adorned the walls. A half-assembled model spaceship sat on the coffee table. So, Dave said conversationally as he worked. Do you guys mug people often? Because I gotta say, you might want to consider a different line of work. Krell remained silent, his mind racing. The other 4 members of the assassination team were outside, observing the apartment and debating their next move. Their comms link was active, meaning they could hear everything. I mean, your purple friend is still floating at the ceiling of that alley as far as I know, Dave continued, chuckling. And the one who pretended to be human. No offense. But humans don't have elbows that bend that way. It was a rushed disguise. Zila's indignant voice crackled in Krell's hidden earpiece. So what's your story? Dave asked, setting aside the medical supplies. You don't strike me as the criminal type. Krell hesitated. In his 20 years as an elite assassin, he'd never encountered a target who had taken him home and administered first aid. I fell on hard times, he improvised, aware that his team was listening. The economy on my planet collapsed. Oh man, that's rough, Dave said, genuine sympathy in his voice. Well, you can crash on my couch tonight if you need a place to stay. I know how tough it can be out here for non-humans. The whole cultural exchange program is mostly just propaganda to make us look progressive. Outside the apartment, perched on an anti-gravity platform disguised as architectural decoration, Commander Core listened to this exchange with growing bewilderment. What is Krell doing? He hissed. He should have neutralized the target by now. Maybe he's gathering intelligence, suggested Drex, adjusting his phase disruptor's settings. The human seems unusually trusting. We could use that. Drex, who had finally managed to recover her gravity manipulator and rescue Commander Core from the alley ceiling, wasn't convinced. Krell sounds different. Something's wrong. Inside, Dave was showing Krell his collection of souvenir mugs from various Earth cities. This one's from Seattle. It used to be famous for coffee before, you know, the great coffee blight of 2097. Fascinating, Krell said, and to his horror, he realized he actually meant it. The human's enthusiasm was oddly infectious. Your species puts great value on sentimental objects. Don't yours? Dave asked. Venusians value practical skills and tactical advantages, Krell replied automatically, then winced at revealing more information. Sounds lonely, Dave commented, setting down the mug. Hey, are you hungry? I was going to heat up some food. It's human cuisine, but I've got some universal enzyme packets that make it digestible for most species. In his earpiece, Krell could hear Commander Core's increasingly agitated breathing. Krell, complete your mission or extract immediately. That's an order. But as Dave hummed tunelessly while preparing a meal for both of them, Krell found himself making a decision that would change the course of 5 lives. I should tell you something, Krell said slowly. That wasn't a mugging. Dave turned, a spatula in hand. Yeah, I kinda figured. Worst muggers ever. We were sent to kill you. Dave stared at him for a long moment, then turned back to the stove. Well, that's definitely worse than a mugging. Can I ask why? You're being remarkably calm about this, Krell observed. Dave shrugged. After the 3rd near-death experience on this planet, there was an incident with the atmospheric converters last year. You kind of develop a weird relationship with mortality. So, why am I on someone's hit list? I don't know the full details, Krell admitted. Something about genetic markers and a precursor artifact. A what now? Outside, Commander Core was apoplectic. He's defecting. Drex, take the shot through the window. But Drex, who had been listening to the exchange, hesitated. The commander, something doesn't add up. The human genuinely seems unaware of any artifact. That doesn't change our orders, Core snapped. Zila, who had maintained silence until now, spoke up. I've been scanning the apartment. There's no evidence of advanced technology, hidden communications, or anything suggesting this human is anything other than what he claims. Commander Core glared at his team. Are you all forgetting who we are? We're the Council's elite. We don't question orders, we execute them. But doubt had begun to creep in like an insidious fog. For the first time in their careers, the flawless assassination team found themselves questioning their mission. Inside, Dave was setting a plate of food in front of Krell. "So are your buddies outside planning to kill me right now, or do I have time to eat dinner first?" Krell's 8 eyes blinked in surprise. "You know they're out there?" Dave grinned. "Tour guide, remember? I spend all day watching people who think they're being subtle. Your purple friend has been hovering outside my window for the past 10 minutes, and he's really bad at hiding his bioluminescence." Dawn broke over New Portlandia, casting an orange glow through Dave's apartment windows. He had gotten precisely 0 sleep, which seemed reasonable given the circumstances. "Let me get this straight," Dave said, pacing around his living room where Krell now sat comfortably on the couch. "5 super assassins were sent to kill me because I have some special DNA that can activate an alien super weapon." "A Precursor artifact," Krell corrected. "And yes, that's the essence of it. But I'm a tour guide," Dave exclaimed for the 12th time that night. "The most advanced technology I operate is the coffee maker, and half the time I mess that up." A muffled crash from the bathroom interrupted their conversation. Dave sighed and walked over, throwing open the door to reveal Zila, tangled in shower curtains, her shape-shifting abilities having malfunctioned mid-transformation. "Really?" Dave asked, hands on his hips. "The bathroom window. That's your infiltration strategy?" Zila, caught in an awkward half-human, half-Morphean form, managed to look embarrassed despite her facial features still settling. "The front door was being watched by others, by your own team," Dave pointed out. "This is getting ridiculous. How many of you are trying to kill me right now?" "Just 2, Zila admitted, extricating herself from the curtains. "Commander Quor and Drex are still committed to the mission." "I came to verify Krell's assessment." Krell appeared in the doorway. "And the human's confusion appears genuine," Zila conceded. "I detect no deception." "I'm right here," Dave waved. "And of course I'm confused. Yesterday I was giving tours to bored aliens, and today I'm apparently the key to some doomsday weapon." Another crash, this time from the kitchen. Dave threw his hands up in exasperation and marched over to find Vex standing amid broken dishes, looking apologetic. "Sorry," she said, her gravelly voice surprisingly soft. "Your gravity is different than I'm used to." "Oh my God," Dave muttered. "It's like an alien clown car in here." Now surrounded by 3 elite assassins who had apparently decided not to kill him, at least for the moment, Dave collapsed into a chair. "Okay," he said, rubbing his temples. 3 of you are in my apartment. Where are the other 2? "Outside," Vex replied. "Commander Quor never fails a mission. He's regrouping." "Great. So what happens now? Do I just wait for him to burst in and disintegrate me?" Krell's 8 limbs gestured in a complex pattern that translated roughly to "it's complicated." "We need to understand why you were targeted," Zila explained, now fully shifted back to her natural amethyst-skinned form. "The Council doesn't send us after innocent civilians without reason." "Well, Dave began, but was interrupted by his apartment door disintegrating into particles. Drex stood in the doorway, phase disruptor pointed directly at Dave's chest. "Nobody move." "Seriously?" Dave exclaimed. "Do you know how much the security deposit on this place was?" Drex looked momentarily confused by this response but quickly recovered. Step away from the human, he ordered his 3 former teammates. To Dave's surprise, Krell, Zila, and Vex moved protectively in front of him instead. "What are you doing?" Drex demanded. "We have orders." "Orders based on what?" Krell challenged. "Look at him, Drex. Does this look like someone plotting to use a super weapon?" Dave, peering between Krell's tentacle-like limbs, gave an awkward wave. "Hi, still just a tour guide." Drex's weapon wavered slightly. "The Council said." "The Council might be wrong." Vex interrupted. "When was the last time that happened?" "Oh right, the Proxima incident. Remember how that turned out? 6 innocent colonies sterilized because of faulty intelligence." Uncertainty flickered across Drex's features. His species was known for loyalty, but also for their strict moral code. "Commander Quor will never abandon the mission," he warned. "Then help us understand it," Zila urged. Why him specifically? What makes his genetic markers special? Drex hesitated, then lowered his weapon slightly. The Precursor artifact was discovered beneath the southern continent 3 weeks ago. Initial scans indicated it would only respond to a specific genetic sequence, one that matches his exactly. But why would an ancient alien artifact respond to human DNA? Dave asked, genuinely puzzled. Humans weren't even spacefaring when the Precursors existed. A thoughtful silence fell over the room. Finally, Drex holstered his weapon. That, he admitted, is a question I hadn't considered. Dave looked around at the 4 assassins who were now crowded into his small apartment. So, does this mean you're not going to kill me? Drex seemed to be having an internal struggle. I believe we need more information before proceeding. Dave pumped his fist in victory. Yes, but not getting murdered today. This calls for coffee. He headed toward the kitchen, then paused. Wait, where's your scary purple boss? As if on cue, the apartment's main window exploded inward as Commander Quor made his dramatic entrance, his violet skin pulsing with deadly intent. I'll handle this myself, he growled. You have got to be kidding me, Dave muttered as glass shards settled around Commander Quor's imposing figure. Do any of you understand the concept of doors? The Quor's bioluminescent patterns flashed in what was clearly a threat display. Step aside, traitors. The mission will be completed. The 4 other assassins formed a protective barrier between Dave and their former commander. The mission parameters may be flawed, Krell stated firmly. The human has no knowledge of the artifact. Irrelevant, Quor hissed. Orders are orders. Dave, peering over Vex's shoulder, decided to try diplomacy. Hey, purple guy. Commander Quor of the Galactic Council's elite intervention unit. Quor corrected with deadly precision. Commander Purple Guy. Look, I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. I give tours to aliens for a living. The most dangerous thing I handle is the occasionally racist question about human biology. Quor's eyes narrowed. Your deception is pointless. It's not deception if I have no idea what you're talking about, Dave protested. Listen, how about we all calm down and figure this out like rational beings? I've got snacks. Snacks, Quor repeated, momentarily thrown off balance by the mundane offer. Yeah, those little cracker things with cheese. Most alien digestive systems can handle them. The absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on anyone in the room. 5 of the galaxy's deadliest assassins and their target were discussing snack options. Drex cleared his throat. Commander, I believe we should investigate further the inconsistencies. There are no inconsistencies, Quor interrupted. The only orders. But why him? Zila pressed. Why would human DNA activate a precursor device? A tense silence filled the room. Finally, Quor reached into his tactical uniform and withdrew a small holographic projector. An image appeared, a swirling double helix with certain sections highlighted. This is why, Quor explained reluctantly. The human's DNA contains markers identical to precursor genetic fragments found in the artifact's access terminals. Dave stared at the hologram. That's my DNA? How did you even get that? The galactic census requires biological samples, Vex explained. All residents of Council-monitored planets provide them. I thought that was for medical compatibility in emergencies, Dave exclaimed. It is, Krell confirmed. But the data is accessible to Council agencies. Dave squinted at the hologram. So what? I'm part ancient alien or something? Impossible, Quor dismissed. Humans are far too primitive to have precursor heritage. Hey, Dave objected. No offense, Quor added unconvincingly. Look, Dave said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. I don't care about my apparently exotic DNA. I just want to go back to my boring life giving tours and eating questionable burritos. Drex studied the hologram thoughtfully. Commander, what exactly is the artifact supposed to do? That's classified, Quor snapped. You ordered us to eliminate a civilian without full mission parameters, Krell pointed out. That violates Code 37B of the Elite Intervention Unit protocols. There was bioluminescence pulsed in what appeared to be discomfort. The other assassins recognized the tell their commander was hiding something. The artifact is believed to be a planet killer, Core finally admitted. The Council cannot risk it being activated. And they think I want to activate it, Dave asked incredulously. Why would I destroy the planet I live on? Humans are unpredictable, Core stated, but with slightly less conviction. During this exchange, no one had noticed Dave inching toward his kitchen. In one swift movement, he grabbed a frying pan and held it up like a shield. Okay, enough of this. I'm not going to be executed for something I didn't do and had no intention of doing. If you want to kill me, you'll have to catch me first. With surprising agility for a tour guide, Dave bolted for the door, or where the door used to be before Drex disintegrated it. Stop him, Core commanded, but the other 4 assassins hesitated just long enough for Dave to escape into the hallway. After him, Core bellowed, charging forward. Outside in the corridor, Dave was frantically pressing the elevator button when he heard approaching footsteps. Making a split-second decision, he darted into the emergency stairwell instead. Think, Dave, think, he muttered to himself as he descended the stairs 2 at a time. What would Captain Kirk do in this situation? Dave had watched enough science fiction to know that when facing superior opponents, the hero needed to get creative. As he reached the building's maintenance level, an idea struck him. Meanwhile, the 5 assassins had split up to search the building. Commander Core, growing increasingly frustrated, activated the team's comm link. Report. Has anyone located the target? Negative, came Drex's voice. No sign on the upper floors. Not in the lobby, Vex added. Krell and Zila remained suspiciously silent. Krell. Zila, report, Core demanded. We're still searching, Krell replied evasively. As suspicions flared, his former team members were actively hindering the mission now. He needed to take matters into his own hands. Using his advanced tracking skills, Core followed subtle disturbances in the dust patterns on the floor, leading him to the maintenance level. He moved silently, phase disruptor ready. As he turned a corner, he found Dave Matthews standing calmly in the middle of the room, frying pan still in hand. I figured you'd find me eventually, Dave said with surprising composure. So I decided we should talk. Just us. Core raised his weapon. There's nothing to discuss. Really? Because I think there's plenty. Like why the Council is so afraid of an artifact they know almost nothing about. Or why my DNA matches something millions of years old. Your questions are irrelevant. You are a threat that must be eliminated. Dave sighed. You know what? I've been giving tours of this settlement for 3 years. I want to know what I've learned. Most conflicts happen because of miscommunication. This isn't a conflict, Core stated coldly. It's an execution. Then why haven't you pulled the trigger yet? The question hung in the air between them. Indeed, why hadn't he? Commander Core had eliminated hundreds of targets without hesitation. What made this unremarkable human different? Before Core could resolve his internal conflict, the maintenance room door burst open. Krell, Zila, Vex, and Drex rushed in. The commander, stop. Drex called out. We found something. The Commander Core didn't lower his weapon, but his gaze flickered toward Drex. Explain. Quickly. Drex held up a data tablet. We accessed the classified mission files. The Council's analysis of the artifact was incomplete. It's not a weapon, it's a terraforming device. That's impossible, Core insisted. The energy readings were misinterpreted, Krell interrupted, his 8 limbs gesturing emphatically. The Precursors didn't build planet killers, they transformed worlds to support life. Dave, still holding his frying pan like a shield, looked between the assassins. So I'm supposed to activate something that makes planets more habitable? And that's why I needed to die. Vex nodded grimly. The Council fears what would happen if humans gained access to such technology. Your species could transform and claim countless worlds virtually overnight. With political power, Zila added. the balance would shift dramatically. Dave lowered his improvised weapon slowly. That's what this is about? Politics? The Commander Corps' bioluminescent patterns dimmed slightly as he processed this information. If this is true— It is, Drex confirmed. The files contain the complete analysis. They were marked classified after the elimination order was issued. A heavy silence fell over the maintenance room. Finally, Commander Corps lowered his phase disruptor. The elite intervention unit does not assassinate innocents for political advantage, he stated, his voice hard. That is not our purpose. Dave let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. So, no more trying to kill me? No, Corps confirmed reluctantly. But the situation remains complicated. If what they say is true, you still possess the ability to activate Precursor technology that could destabilize galactic politics. Look, Dave said, setting his frying pan on a nearby table as a peace gesture, I have zero interest in galactic politics. I just want to. A sudden rumble interrupted him. As the entire building shook, the lights flickered ominously. What was that? Zila asked, bracing herself against a wall. Dave's eyes widened. Oh no. The atmospheric converters, if they're malfunctioning again. Another, stronger tremor cut him off. This time, the maintenance room's equipment rattled violently. That's not the converters, Drex said, checking readings on his tactical implants. It's coming from the southern continent. The artifact, Corps realized. It's activating on its own. Krell turned all 8 eyes toward Dave. Or maybe not on its own. You've been on this planet for 3 years, correct? Living, breathing, shedding cells. And the artifact has been detecting your presence. Vex concluded, responding to the genetic markers in your DNA that's been dispersed through the colony's water system, air filtration. Dave looked horrified. I've been accidentally activating a Precursor terraforming device just by existing. As if in answer, a brilliant beam of energy shot skyward from the southern continent, visible even from their location in the colony. The tremors stopped, replaced by a gentle humming that seemed to permeate everything. We need to get outside, Commander Corps ordered. Ow. Ow. The unlikely group raced up the stairs and out of the building to join other colonists who had gathered in the streets, staring in awe at the spectacle unfolding above them. The sky was changing color, shifting from Nexus 9's typical orange hue to a more Earth-like blue. Readings from the atmospheric monitors displayed on public screens showed oxygen levels rising steadily across the planet. It's terraforming, Drex said in disbelief, making the planet more Earth-like. Dave watched, mouth agape. But I didn't do anything. Perhaps that was the point, Krell suggested thoughtfully. The Precursors designed their technology to respond to compatible species passively, without requiring deliberate activation. But why would my DNA match Precursor patterns? Gee, Dave wondered. The Commander Corps, who had been consulting his tactical database, looked up with an expression that might have been surprise. There's an old theory, he said slowly, ever proven, that the Precursors seeded compatible genetic material throughout the galaxy before they disappeared. Some scientists believe they were ensuring their legacy by embedding their genetic patterns in promising primitive species. Are you saying humans are descended from these Precursors? Dave asked. Not descended, Corps clarified. Guided. Your evolution may have been subtly influenced to eventually produce compatible genetic markers. Dave sat down heavily on a nearby bench. So I'm part of some ancient alien plan to spread life through the galaxy. Me? The guy who got rejected from the terraforming Corps for failing basic chemistry? The universe, Zila noted philosophically, has a strange sense of humor. 6 months later, the new Portlandia tourism office had a new attraction that was drawing record numbers of visitors from across the galaxy. And if you look to your right, Dave announced to his tour group, you'll see one of the new forest regions that sprouted after the Precursor terraforming event. The trees grew to full size in just weeks. The alien tourists murmured appreciatively, taking photos with their various technological appendages. Any questions? Dave asked with the confidence of someone who had given this specific tour hundreds of times. A small Gentharan child raised a tentacle. Is it true you have 5 bodyguards who used to be assassins? Dave grinned as he glanced at his cultural liaison team. Krell was helping an elderly alien navigate a rocky path with his 8 limbs. Zila, shape-shifted to appear more approachable to the tourists, was explaining Earth biology to a fascinated group of Zenturians. Vex was demonstrating proper safety protocols around the newly formed geothermal vents. Drex was vigilantly scanning the perimeter, old habits dying hard. And Commander Quor, his violet skin now adorned with the official uniform of the New Portlandia Tourism Office, was solemnly handing out brochures. They're not bodyguards, Dave corrected the child. They're my friends. Turns out, reformed assassins make excellent tour guides. They're really good at pointing things out. As the tour continued along the trail, Dave fell into step beside Quor. Any word from the Council? They've officially classified the Nexus 9 transformation as a natural evolutionary event, Quor replied, his tone suggesting what he thought of that particular fiction. Our mission records have been expunged. So they're just pretending none of this happened? Politics, Quor said simply. Dave nodded thoughtfully. You know, sometimes I wonder if we should tell people the truth about the precursors, about why the planet transformed. To what end? Quor asked. The galaxy now has one more habitable world. Your species has a thriving colony that no longer needs atmospheric converters, and the 5 of us. He gestured to his former assassination squad, have found a more fulfilling purpose than eliminating targets for political expediency. Dave smiled as he watched a group of human children playing with young aliens beneath trees that shouldn't exist yet somehow did. I guess you're right. Still feels strange being at the center of an interstellar cover-up. Not a cover-up, Quor corrected. A compromise. The Council acknowledges the transformation while allowing all species to maintain their dignity. No one needs to know they were manipulating genetic evolution for millennia. A soft chime from Quor's communicator interrupted them. The commander's bioluminescent patterns shifted to what Dave had come to recognize as a pattern of surprise. Interesting, Quor murmured. What is it? Dave asked. My contacts in the Elite Intervention Unit have discovered something. Similar terraforming events have begun on 7 other planets across the galaxy in the last month. Dave stopped walking. Other planets, but I'm not there. Exactly, Quor confirmed. Each world has a human colony. So it's not just me, Dave whispered, feeling a strange mixture of relief and wonder. It's all of us. The Council is concerned, Quor added, his tone carefully neutral. Dave laughed. I bet they are. Humans accidentally making planets more habitable just by existing, that's going to be hard to control. As they crested the hill, the breathtaking vista of New Portlandia spread before them, lush forests surrounding a gleaming city, rivers that hadn't existed 6 months ago cutting through newly fertile valleys, all beneath a perfectly blue sky. Do you regret it? Dave asked suddenly, not completing your mission? Quor's skin rippled with an emotion Dave still couldn't quite interpret. I was sent to eliminate a threat, he replied after a thoughtful pause. Instead, I discovered there was no threat at all, only potential. My mission parameters were based on fear and incomplete information. His gaze swept across the flourishing landscape. I believe we made the correct decision. The tour group had moved ahead, and Zila was expertly handling their questions. Dave noticed Drex had tensed, scanning the perimeter with professional vigilance. Incoming ship. Drex announced quietly, and Council markings. Are they here for us? Dave asked, immediately concerned. Krell skittered closer, all 8 eyes blinking in sequence. Not likely. If they wanted us, they would have sent another assassination team, not a diplomatic vessel. They're here to negotiate, Vex concluded, joining the impromptu meeting. Humans have suddenly become more valuable and more concerning than anyone anticipated. Dave shook his head in disbelief. From maintenance technician to galactic diplomatic incident in less than a year. My mother would be so proud. What will you do? Quor asked. Dave looked at his unlikely friends, 5 former assassins who had been sent to kill him, and instead had become his closest allies. He thought about the strange cosmic coincidence that had placed him at the center of an ancient alien's plan to spread life throughout the stars. "I guess," he said with a growing smile, "we should probably prepare for more tourists." Or's skin illuminated with what Dave now recognized as amusement. "Indeed." And perhaps, he added more seriously, prepare humanity for its unexpected role in galactic evolution. As the Council ship descended toward the colony's landing pad, Dave took a deep breath of the sweet air that tasted more like Earth with each passing day. "You know," he said to no one in particular, "for a guy who failed basic chemistry, I think I've done pretty well at changing the composition of a planet." Around him, his 5 former assassins, now tour guides, protectors and friends, made their various species equivalents of laughter as they prepared to greet whatever came next. Above them, the newly blue sky of Nexus 9 stretched endlessly into the cosmos, where other worlds were beginning to transform, one human colony at a time.